It's finally the spooky season! Well, technically that starts September 1st in my book, but animation takes forever. Woohoo! The time of year chocked full of magic and 50 shades of orange and crunchy leaves and tart apples and all the spices and ghosts and ghouls and witches and eerie, unsettling circus music and crisp autumn winds and chills down the spine and soul rubbing and candy and costumes and horror movie marathons.
Johnny, eating sugar, telling lies. Open your mouth.
Sorry, not sorry, but this has been haunting my brain for months now. Gotta pass along the curse somehow. But if you thought that was scary, oh hey now, buckle up as we take a stroll down spooky season memory lane. There's always been a magic around this time of year. You can feel the spooky is just a bit closer than usual. Now, I'm way more into it now than I was as a terrified tiny tot, I think, but it's something I've always strongly felt. Back in babyhood, however, I was kinda low-key petrified of all the sounds and the wind and the potential. I didn't embrace it, I endured it. Spooky season was the time for the nerves. School would have just kinda started, and that always made the bats in my belly go nuts for months. I blame my questionable costume choices on them entirely. Oh, let's take a gander, shall we? I will say things started off strong, but keep in mind that all of these glorious costumes were covered up with a neon puffy windbreaker because October is freaking cold. I hated that neon monstrosity because it ruined every costume. Whatever. Anyway, you've got your tiny tot infant tiger cub. Good choice, Mom and Dad. Your green witch with the itchy wig. Your Dracula with the 2 huge face masks that made it impossible and stinky to breathe and talk. Not a problem. I rarely did. The talking part. And the eyes were holographic, so it added another layer of iridescent semi-transparent spooky to the already terrifying night. You've got your Ice Queen, pretty frozen, and your Easter Bunny. Seriously, wrong holiday and wrong half of the year, kid. You've got your old lady portrait ghost, which ordinarily would have been pretty cool. What with the old molting Victorian dress, the baby powder in the hair, the crow's feet, and the empty picture frame prop that I carried around all night. But this was the year all of my peers had discovered they could be saucy kitten, or racy devil, or minimalist pirate. You know, the costumes that you just stick a headband with the ears and may or may not make risque by what other articles of clothing you do or don't wear with it. The costumes that require zero effort and completely miss the spirit of the spooky season and made me, the shortest kid in every grade, feel shorter, or that I tried too hard, or whatever, you get it. Ooh, those costumes are the worst. But let's rewind and talk about my personal least favorite and most embarrassing costume ever. I need to set the scene for this one properly, for full effect. My family had just moved to a new state during a critical social development phase, so new school, new neighborhood, new friends. This was a lot to process for my shy kiddo self. I was still in the I will not talk much phase when Halloween hit, so what friends I had were new, and the relationships were very loose, and I was so afraid to mess them up. Also, they didn't live near me. Kind of a deal breaker. Before we moved, we lived in the middle of nowhere. Houses were so far apart that all of us neighborhood BFFs would hop in a trailer pulled by a tractor. It was kind of cheating, but on rainy Halloweens, we had a plastic tarp protecting our spooky little selves. Now that we had moved, I knew no one, and the streets were all twisted and they all looked the same, and I knew none of them, or where to get the full-size Kit Kat bars. The horror! I went to school with one of our neighbors, so my mom set me and my siblings up with their family to trick-or-treat. I didn't want to go. I felt intimidated and scared, and I had not even thought of a costume, and we were 3 hours from go time. My sister was in the same situation, but already working on making her costume, a die. A cardboard box painted white with spots and arm, leg, and head holes. Pretty good for short notice. Too bad it rained that night. God, we were so spoiled with that trailer tarp. My costume was a bit more weatherproof. Now, where this bright idea came from, I don't know. Wanting to make a good impression to the new neighborhood? Who knows? It didn't come off that way at all, but because we were new in town, I felt this weird, crazy pressure to come up with the best costume ever! Oh, silly small misguided Frankie and her unrealistic expectations. But I felt like I had something to prove, like the only way to make friends was with my costume making skills. thankfully it wasn't. Of all the spooky and wacky things I could have been on Halloween, I decided to become a bag of jelly beans. In my mind, it was a simple, weird costume with some effort, but not too much because that's not cool. Using things already around the house, like balloons, a trash bag, red spandex pants, mismatched socks, and a ton of face paint, etc. Nice. So creative. This costume did not go as planned. The trash bag ended up being more of a tube than a floppy bag, and tying it would have cut off my air intake capabilities. So I had to MacGyver a system to keep the bag up and tie it without cutting off circulation. I was a twerp, but even then I could barely fit in the tube bag with the balloons, so they had to be half filled and looked pretty flippin' stupid bouncing around. I also failed to realize that I would have to reinforce the arm and leg holes with clear tape. I was not into cosplay yet, so that I wouldn't lose my balloons. Get it? Gotta stop, brain! All over the sidewalks. I waddled everywhere that Halloween. I was the coolest, most half-inflated, jello-y, jigglyest monstrosity that ever roamed. I also embellished the costume with a baseball cap with balloons pulled through each one of those little holes near the top. Why? Jelly bean bags don't have a halo of floating jellies. Well, in this world they do. Again, super cool. I looked like a multicolored third-party knockoff of the Fruit of the Loom Grape Man, vacuum sealed to preserve freshness. All this would have been fine-ish had I not went ham on the face paint. Because jelly bean bags need face paint. Well, yeah, no, they don't. But I felt like the outfit needed a little something extra. I took an hour to paint my whole face and neck to look like small, multicolored jelly bean camouflage. I didn't think to match the scale of the balloons between the costume and the face paint, so I ended up looking like a big bruise because I outlined every single tiny overlapping bean with thick black eyeliner. Why? It doesn't even make sense. But it wouldn't come off, and it was go time. No one knew what I was. Heck, I didn't even know what I was after a while. The creativity took over, and I was left looking like some odd diseased Martian Chuck E. Cheese balloon creature thingy. I do, however, think that I made a pretty accurate to my soul first impression, so yay. And I still got way more candy that year than any year before, so that's what's important. Win, win, win. Oh, my friend went as a really cool witch. Why didn't I just think of something like that? After that Halloween, things got better. Sorta. I kinda just ran with being a weirdo even among all of the saucy kitten costumes. So be true to yourself, even when you don't know what you are. That's the whole point of everything in life. Be whatever the heck you wanna be, even if it's the stuff of myths and unknown as yet legends. So what are some of your favorite things to do during the spooky season? Haunted houses? Graveyard tours? How about your most creative costume? Best ghost tale? Grab some cider and let's swap those stories. Thanks for tuning into this spooktacular video. Also, thank you ever so kindly to Nevercake for voicing the sugar demon. Thank you! Alright, stay tuned for more tales and adventures, and do be sure to subscribe if this is your jam. Okay, goodbye!